We'll just take that. Click the garnet. I know, but I can't get my cursor to.
Thank you for coming, commissioners. I call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock, Wednesday, May the 10th. We don't have anyone in the gallery for our public forum, so we will move along to approval of the agenda, or if anyone has any additions to the agenda. No, I'll accept the motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Laura.
Thank you. You guys are going to be busy this evening. For the record, in terms of the Municipal Government Act, we do have a quorum. Although we are down to 2 members, one due to business and one due to illness. Report of the chief, Chester Volunteer Fire Department. Our chief has given us his regrets for the evening. So I assume everyone has read the minutes from the last regular meeting. Are there any corrections or additions? I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as presented for the regular meeting of Wednesday, April the 12th, 2023. So moved. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Carol. No objections? Passed. If you have read and do not have comments or changes for the minutes of the special meeting of Wednesday, April the 19th, do we have a motion to approve and accept?
I move we accept the
Thank
minutes
you,
from
Karen.
Wednesday, April 19th. I second that motion.
Thank you, Laura. No objections. The motion is passed. Business Horizon grant policy. Now, after careful reading, does anyone have comments?
I'm not sure what it is that got changed.
Okay, it's in red. Who did the changes? Okay, thank you. Because I do have a few questions myself, and I assume it's just because we weren't very clear during our discussion.
These aren't in red. They were printed off because remember the printer
Oh,
was
okay.
not working.
All right, well, I will point
But
out.
so line through
So
it.
what are we looking at?
It says Village of Chester grant policy, pages 10, 11, and 12 of your package. The changes that Heather has presented are on page 11 under 5. Bullet points 2 and 3, and the second one under 5.
I'm sorry.
Okay, page 11.
Yep.
Okay, section 5, application procedure, bullet point 2, because we discussed having a deadline for applications. And the suggested changes, grant applications must be received by March 31st of each year. The next bullet point, which is an addition, a call for applications will be published in advance of the deadline. And then under bullet point 5, it now reads, all grant applications received by the March 31st deadline each year will be considered together for approval and funding allocation at the May meeting of the commission. Applications after this deadline will be reviewed on an ad hoc basis based on the availability of designated funding. My response to that is, what's the point of having a deadline if you're going to do it on an ad hoc basis?
That's really to allow, assuming that you have not given away the 9,500, if someone comes in with a late application, if you have anything left over, you could consider it. If you don't, then you don't.
I just suggest that we have 2 application deadlines, because my purpose in bringing it up at all was so that we could consider applications against each other rather than just having one sitting alone.
You could strike that if you prefer.
That's just my thought.
I don't quite understand what you're saying. I mean,
Well,
if you have an application deadline, which is the 31st of this year, then whoever is looking for a grant will apply on or before that date.
Correct.
And you will then have all the applications. Which you then can compare.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is standard practice pretty well across the board for all these
Not a case long,
applications.
though, right?
I wanted only one, but what I'm trying to avoid is. Applications dangling in and being done ad hoc. I don't agree with that at all. I don't mind quarterly. I don't mind twice a year. I prefer once a year. But I do think there should be a deadline so that everybody, this year we're gonna have to be different because deadline's already passed.
Right.
So we're gonna have to write that into policy that for this current fiscal year, we're just going to have to accept them as best
It's
we
May
can.
31st.
Yeah, May 31st, good. And, but it seems to
But
me.
again,
that we
that wasn't
established
listed.
a policy.
That wasn't listed in any of these policies that I read.
No,
It's in the minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, but before that, when I asked to go to flying, I was given. A deadline.
Yeah.
And that deadline has nothing to do with May 31st.
yeah,
So I mean, either you do or you don't. And I mean, this is. Neither here nor there. I shouldn't even be talking about it, maybe.
no,
But I think
agree.
in time to come, you've got a chance now to change it and make
They're
it
not
up
right.
and make it right, because before there was no deadline. You could apply anytime through the year. And it would be considered. This way, if you have ad hoc ones that they can put in here and maybe there. How are you gonna decide who gets what?
Yeah, if they put it in.
Do you then say, okay, we save half of it because, hey, great, we may have a really great one.
Right.
4 months down the
Yeah,
road,
You do want to avoid that.
so you don't want that to happen, so you need to set a deadline, that's a firm deadline. And then if you're publishing it and notifying it, you're saying, all grants have to be in by such and such a date. The government works that way, so does the municipality. No, there are no maybe ifs.
So then we should just have a policy, so say Heritage Society is the only one applies, we give them their grant, they don't,
That's
there's a
fine.
maximum, but then what are we gonna do with the leftover money? Roll it over, keep it,
Yes. Then you would.
does it become a bigger fund the next year?
Well, that's a decision we would make at budget time.
Okay,
But that's my own feeling, I mean, I don't think ad hoc is a good idea.
The ad hoc was no, as far as I was willing to explore possibilities.
can
but
absolutely
no
strike
ad
it.
hoc.
It does, it was in the previous version, and which I believe was in there because
I believe you.
with some municipalities, they may not go through their entire allocation at the time of the deadline, and sometimes they have a little left over, but we can certainly, yeah, it's probably not applicable to you folks, so we can
Yeah.
certainly strike it.
So shall we say something in, like, this is the procedure. We should probably have a separate motion to say that for this current fiscal year, we will accept applications to May the 31st. Simply because we haven't passed this by. But here's the other thing that just tickling my brain. March the 31st is the last day of the prior fiscal year. Should it be April the 1st? Keep everything in the same fiscal year? I don't know. Is that too legalistic?
It's completely up to commission's discretion.
I think usually most times they try to have them in before they set their budget.
municipalities end of March.
Yeah. Most municipal units are the end of March, but
February,
it's.
yeah, but I mean, that's the financial one.
No, the
But I-
only reason it was tickling me is because of the fiscal years and I just wasn't sure, but
We can make a April one.
because it will be granted in the fiscal year starting April the 1st.
Okay.
There's only one day difference. I don't know. It was just something that popped into my brain.
There's, it's completely at your discretion. There's no way about it.
Now, and the only other question that I had, so is everybody happy now with this? Section 5, have we sorted out in our minds that we definitely want a deadline? That it will be April the 1st, and that we will pass a separate motion for this year to say May the 31st? Is everybody okay with that? Okay.
But why are
There
we,
was a motion made at the other meeting.
yeah, why are we moving to the
To defer
31st?
all grants.
It says the May meeting. You
Oh,
want
the
to
May
change that?
meeting is when you can, it's between the application time and the time you have to review it and give the grants out, or do you want?
Well,
There's not a lot of time between April first and the first
Meeting,
yeah,
the commission meeting, because that package would have to already be together.
that's right.
So it would give us time to actually evaluate, because sometimes we get applications that may not be complete, or we may have
I
other
think you were
questions.
away when we decided the May 31st.
yeah, she was.
That's just for this year.
Well, this is,
May
my problem is that when I asked about this, and I mean, all I'm trying to, doesn't make any difference. You're gonna give money or you're not gonna give money, so neither here nor there. The question is, if you're gonna ask people to make a grant application and they check, and you tell me, like you said here, well, this is the deadline, you have to have it in by, so you got it.
Mhm.
And now you're saying, well, we're not gonna look at it this month. So we're gonna put it off until next month. Now we're putting it off to the end of this month. So this year is kind of a mixed bag, if you would.
It is.
This is an odd year.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, this is an odd year. We are delayed due to deciding to make some of these changes. But being able to deal with them at the April meeting just isn't possible. It's too close. You can certainly decide you'd rather have a special meeting a couple of weeks later.
That's what I was just about to say, from this year in our motion that says this is special, that we'll call a special meeting to review them. As soon as the May 31st deadline is over.
but I mean, the longer you put it ahead, you realize that most organizations are looking to work for the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the longer,
Your application is in.
my application's been in for a month and a half, 2 months. Because I was given a deadline of, I don't remember,
Yeah, and I.
End of March or
unfortunately,
something.
We did not advertise it because we were still working on the policy.
well, I knew that.
Yeah.
But I also did get a copy of this policy that you have here, or the form
Yeah,
that you have here, which is what I filled out.
and you followed the policy, absolutely.
So all I'm saying is people who are relying on this, whether it's me or whoever it is, and you've got all sorts of people who need grants, I'm sure, that they need to know sooner rather than later.
Granted.
You know, if you've got something you need to do, or you need to get a carpenter, or you need to get something, you can't go ahead and go any further until you know you've got the
How many
funding.
applications, if any, do we have in hand at the moment?
We have 3, although we've had an inquiry about a third, sorry, we have 2. We've had an inquiry about a third one. I've been reposting the ad, the call for submissions every 2 days or so.
Unfortunately, Carol, I don't see any way out of this. I think that we.
Well, I mean, I don't care, just as long as whatever we decide
Next year, yeah, that it's-
for next year is
It's. for-
this is how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got 3, do we give everybody a third? I mean,
No,
that's another,
yeah,
yeah,
we, each application is reviewed.
it should be,
on its
On the
own.
merits.
yeah.
Okay, so we
And
have
what they've
struggled
asked
through
for, not
that.
everyone else is for the mass statements.
Yeah, some people just ask for like $500. So we're clear on that.
Yeah.
With our apologies about the difficulties for this year, Carol. But
Doesn't matter.
definitely going forward, March 31st will, or April 1st will be the deadline.
Okay,
And I did have one question that I just wasn't quite clear on in section 3 of the principles, and bullet point 1, 2, 3.
3,
Yeah, participation and funding by a variety of sources. So we have said that they must be nonprofits. So the variety of sources, do they need to be explicit, that they must be nonprofit, or they can be anything? I mean, can they be your
People-
friendly corner grocery store, or any source at all?
We didn't really discuss that, but many organizations get corporate donations, for example, and we wouldn't want to have to curtail what an organization might be able to do with their own fundraising base. So I wouldn't say we say it has to be, the organization applying needs to be nonprofit, but I don't know that we usually know.
And are we determined that it must be nonprofit, or it must be nonprofit or a charity?
Yeah, either or, I think legally didn't.
Because if this policy says nonprofit and they're two completely separate legal entities, do we want to address that or not? I'm happy with nonprofit.
Well, I don't know, we're a registered nonprofit and charity, so.
Yeah, because charities are nonprofits, but there's also nonprofits that are not charities.
Well, there are
Nonprofit.
nonprofits that are not charities, but there are charities that legally are not considered nonprofits, even though they are nonprofit. Under the law, they're not nonprofits.
They
they're
can be
charities.
nonprofit, but they can't issue income tax receipts.
Yeah.
That becomes the difference. If you are a registered charity nonprofit through the government, then you can issue income tax receipts. Otherwise, you can't.
Okay, so that's then a non-issue. We're okay
I would
with that.
think so.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. Are you happy with that discussion? Do you-
Or maybe you're not.
Okay,
I
and
mean,
you
maybe
just
I'm
made
wrong.
I didn't write it originally.
And I want to hear what it's written, so I can you read back the motion for us, please? Because I see this original.
I don't
policy
think
was
that
approved
motion
September
is,
the 14th,
that's not relevant now.
2022.
because that was about deferring until we did this.
Because
I'm
there's.
sorry, I didn't provide you a motion. for
At
this.
the end of this, it says there's an approved motion outstanding from September 14th, 2022, motion 22-109. So I assume what we're doing here is the revision. So we're simply amending. This is a motion, is it? And we're amending it. Is that correct?
I would suggest that the wording of the motion could be to approve the proposed amendments with changes as discussed.
We all happy with that?
I'm with that.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes,
I can't move a second.
right. I-
Laura and I
So-
are quite happy. More or less.
Okay, so we have all seen the sale of village property certificate. Signed by the Honorable John Moore. Yes, good. Okay, we don't need any motions or anything. We're just putting it in the record. Okay, and now we'll move on to the report by our clerk treasurer.
Okay. Okay, so this report is just a bit of an overview on activities in general. So I had a section here about meetings that I had attended a one-day conference on Nova Scotia Main Streets at St. FX. That was hosted by NSFM, said that. And it was looking at, the reason I went is because it was looking at Main Streets from the perspective of social and community connection, mobility and accessibility, health, and catalysts for local economy, including the visitor attraction and experience. So that seemed to dovetail with quite a bit of some of the strategy that we'll start to discuss as a commission once we get past this next one. So one of the key, I can provide more detail later on, but in planning terms, streets are no longer considered as conduits, they're places, which is a very different way of thinking about urban spaces as non-car focused, which we're very fortunate here that the village is already kind of built that way. So tools were discussed for assessing your main street's health and ideas for revitalizing it. I have some toolkits that they provided. And there were speakers at the event from Build Nova Scotia, Engage Nova Scotia, Public Health, the Truro Colchester Wren, which we no longer have in this region. That's a regional economic network. SEED, the Center for Entrepreneurship, Education and Development, and quite a number of planning experts on the academic and also on the agency side, and an engineering. So it was kind of looked at from a lot of different directions. Very interesting day. The keynote speech from Tara Haddad for Peace by Chocolate was truly inspiring and highlighted what a welcoming and supportive community can do for newcomers in the local economy. The support that he received from day one from the citizens of Antigonish is pretty wonderful. So other organization meetings that have taken place in the past month include the ANAN South Shore region, also very helpful. Municipal Affairs was there for that. And the Association of Nova Scotia Villages, I just had my first online meeting with them. Coming up in May, I'm expecting to attend a provincial briefing for municipalities on villages on our requirements under the Dismantling Racism and Hate Act. And that's being done by the provincial office of what's it called, equity something. Sorry, it's a new secretarial. So that is actually next week. That's Monday for the Western region. Tourism Nova Scotia, I submitted a grant application for the compelling tourism. Sorry, I'm scattered. For support of digital marketing initiatives. And if we are successful, the amount of the grant is flexible, because what they do is evaluate the applications that they receive, make their own determination of what they think you would most benefit with, and then connect you. So when we hear something back, if we are successful, they'll let us know what they think that fit is. And there's been a little bit of preliminary conversation with the Merchants Association and also with MODC, depending on what we get. So just recapping too, that the pumper sale was all completed last week, and the truck was picked up on the 29th. It was very nice to see that go to a fellow fire brigade. This is also news you received a few weeks ago, that we were successful in our grant application to Communities, Culture and Heritage for $150,000 toward the repair project. So an RFP process will have to be required to begin that work. The company that has provided some of the incremental maintenance, there doesn't appear to have been an RFP. So we do have to circle back and do that. We can certainly invite them to respond.
Are we partnering with MODC on that at all, or are we handling
Currently, although I am meeting with Recreation on Friday, so. So the intermunicipal agreement for maintenance with MODC is now in effect. The commission's retired handyman, Paul Mulrooney, has been very generous with his time and showing the village facilities and tasks to MODC's field maintenance supervisor, and the electronic work order process has been worked through. We met with Maxine and I met with them to just streamline that process. And several other service agreements are pending and will be made public when negotiations are completed. A public request for proposals is out for the summer flower baskets with a closing date of May 24th. Community grants, as we were discussing, a call for grant applications is out for nonprofit organizations for activities that encourage tourism growth with a closing date of May 30th.
That's fine, not for worry.
The 2023 APM, this was just an update on the location, but we did not get that confirmed as of yet. The election in 2023 has been scheduled for Tuesday, June 13th, per our last meeting, and the advance poll on June 10th, and both of them will be held at this office. A list of electors has been received from the province now. Advertising for the election dates and call for nominations will appear next week, with nomination day being May 31st. I actually have a little timeline. I think I put some, I put some copies around in case anyone wanted to just check what those various deadlines were.
I couldn't find the nomination forms on the website.
They're not up yet.
That's why.
Yeah. The ads will appear next Wednesday, so we'll have everything up in time for that. We're working on some of those forms today.
Doesn't seem like much time to get nominations in.
It's always short.
Yeah, that's, the timing is all prescribed in the election bylaws, so
Today's the 10th.
Yeah.
And the closing is,
nomination day is the 31st. It's 3 weeks.
well, it's 3 weeks now, but
Yeah.
they're not. gonna be
It's
out
2
till
weeks
next
once
week.
it's,
Right, oh.
once it appears in the, it has to appear in the paper 2 weeks prior.
Okay.
The local, what they consider a local newspaper, which is Lighthouse now. So that'll go in twice. But we can certainly publicize it with posters and online and on our website and all those things.
Yeah, because
really inside.
the MGA says 5 significant places in the village.
Yeah.
What the hell? are significant
Maxine has
places?
a list, and we also do that at the end.
It's on our bulletin board, and then the fifth one we don't have, so we use it on Facebook.
Okay. Oh, conspicuous, that was the word. Conspicuous. Post office.
I think I laughed when I saw that the first time too. And that is my activity report. If you'd like to
Thank you,
just
ma'am.
go straight on to
Financial.
financial. So the financial report is really just a quick summary. So Scotiabank, the March bank balance, oh God, I can't talk this evening. The March bank statement is reconciled, and at the end of the statement, the bank account balance was 181,926.63 as of March 31st, 2023. There's a reconciliation report attached in case you wanted to see the detail. Online review of the accounts shows that since March 31st, there's been bank deposits of 191,749.44 and expenses of $50,025.12 for a bank balance on April 30th of $323,650.95. The corporate credit card arrived on May 5th. Attached is the administrative procedure around its use for the commission's review. So there's, once you get past the copy of the statements, page 27, there's just a 1-page admin procedures, just for your information on how we handle what it's used for, where it's physically stored, etc. And there's it's physically stored. I can just run through this. Yeah, it's in the lockbox with the seal.
You mean you don't keep it in the whole box?
It's in the vault.
So any use of it must be in alignment with the village's purchasing policy and reimbursement policy. It is to be used for village business only, such as online supply purchases, such as the microphone disordered, subscriptions and business travel. The card is not for use for cash advances. The card is not a personal credit card, and therefore use of the card for personal expenses is not permitted. Purchase orders are required for items charged to the card per the village's purchasing policy and must be for and within approved budget line amounts. Receipts and invoices must be submitted to the clerk treasurer or administrative assistant for reconciliation. The monthly credit card statement will be reconciled monthly, and the physical credit card is securely stored in the village commission office lockbox with the village seal. The card is to remain in the office storage unless a purchase requires physical presentation of the card, in which case the user will sign it in and out. There's a little log attached. So fairly standard, straightforward corporate credit card procedure. Does anyone have any questions, concerns about the materials?
Good for me. Do we need a motion of some sort for this year for grants? Is that to say that it was different this year than other years?
Oh, you're right.
Good plan. Yeah, we only did the policy.
Yeah,
Circle back to that line, that item.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so we do not need a motion to accept the reports, do we? They're simply read into the record.
Correct.
Then we would like to return to our grant policy. Carol, would you like to make a motion for a specific presentation of grants for this fiscal year only?
What do we want to say?
We'll extend the application date until May the 31st for this year only, because we didn't get our grant policy ready in time for the end of the fiscal year. Doesn't need to be that word either.
Right, so then your choice of people are going to be, or things will be your new commission.
No, we should be able to,
Not,
oh, you're right,
so,
or it can be a special meeting. depending
Yeah,
on how
It's
things
just
get through.
that we have a meeting as soon as possible.
That's what I was going to say. Why don't we have? I'm gonna
We can put that in a
calendar up
motion,
right
too.
now. Okay, Karen, just hang on a second. Let me get my calendar up. And I'm going to suggest we have a meeting immediately following the deadline to review. Do we want to do it on a weekday or a
So
weekend?
Wednesday, May 31st. We've got Thursday. What about that Monday? What's that Monday?
Monday the 5th,
June, yeah.
June the 5th. That's the
Yeah,
day before. That's
Oh, it's the
the-
day before the public meeting.
Yeah,
yeah,
that will work for me. How about everybody else?
well, I'm not gonna be here. I
Okay.
don't
Are you,
think,
because you're away or because you're done?
I think I'll be finished. Am
No,
I
you're
finished?
not finished till the next day.
Till the next day.
No, the next week. Sorry,
Next week,
Yeah, until the new commissioner
And
is
but
sworn in.
you're gonna have to recuse
You're gonna
yourself.
have to.
Anyway.
Rather have it on the Monday than the Friday, don't you think?
It's fine with me. My
Just
calendar.
one for each
No, yeah.
That-
Here, because we've got these dates, so we know that Tuesdays are June 6th, so.
Yeah,
So we can either have it on the
actually,
the Friday the 2nd.
January, February,
We've got June the 2nd is the Friday and June the 5th is the Monday.
I say the Monday. June 6th.
Do you want to have, bring your own sandwiches and do it like then, or do you want to do it after supper?
Yeah, or we do it in lunchtime, I mean.
Do it at lunchtime.
Lunchtime.
Yeah, why don't we do it lunchtime?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
All right.
bring our own lunch.
yeah, and you don't need me for that.
No,
You can buy lunch.
yeah, you can buy lunch. You can bring
All right.
some sandwiches.
We're,
Noon
so,
or one,
is this a,
or 11 or 11:30, what, you're the
No,
worker,
no.
but you pick.
no, it's good.
June
June 5th, 12 o'clock.
June 5th.
Special meeting to review and
Grants.
select the grants.
Okay, so let's plot that all into the motion and,
And that's just assuming that the chairman and Commissioner O'Malley are available.
well, we only, quorum is 3.
Right.
So that's assuming we have a quorum.
So we got the motion ready? You
Oh,
got it ready, Laura?
The motion is to extend the application deadline to May 31st for the 2023-24 year. And only, and they will meet on June 5th,
a special meeting.
special meeting at 12 o'clock to go over the grant applications.
Excellent. Satisfied?
Second.
So
Thank
moved.
you. You moved it, you seconded it.
You know, this doesn't get you into trouble.
Okay, so you're happy, Maxine, everything's okay?
As far as I know.
Okay. New or other business 9.1, which is page 32. Which is the letter from the Fire Services Commissioner, Coordinator, Municipal District of Chester, which is like it's an official letter, is it not?
Correct.
Yeah.
All 7 fire commissions that are within the district that the municipality manages have to refill and resubmit these forms every year so that they have a current record of equipment and so on. There are 2 pieces that they've sent that we fill in, and most of the rest of it is coded. So I can bring back the completed documents when
once
when
they're
they're
done.
done.
Yeah.
They're not due until July 31st.
And I assume that this is now something that will go over to the committee
it's not
once that
discussed.
process is complete. Is that correct? Or is that remain with us?
No, probably was.
We have not sorted that
We
out.
have
Is the
not
answer to
sorted
that
that out.
question.
That's
Thank
correct.
you,
Yeah.
Peter.
Maxine's wondering if we missed 8.3.
Did we? Committees, audit committee draft. The draft is in there. Do we need to accept it? There wasn't
It's-
anything in there that said he'll be back. It's page 29.
It's really there for information.
Yeah, it seems to be an information piece that doesn't require a motion.
Okay.
Okay. It essentially says we met with them and he'll be back.
Oh, so you did meet with Ms. Berger?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
I guess you must have missed that meeting. That was a daytime meeting. We probably worked.
I was at the audit committee.
Were you?
Oh, yes, he was
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
Yes, of course I was
Yeah,
there, yeah.
Okay. No, you were there. as a matter
I
of
was
fact.
thinking that he was in person. I was like, what? Okay, all right.
Okay,
Thank
everybody
you.
okay? All right, so that was the fire services provider annual registration, and now we're gonna do the fourth quarter financial review, which is on page 33. Heather,
this
can
is
you
the-
lead us through that?
Yes. So this is essentially a budget reconciliation. So the fourth quarter captures the full year. This is my first time doing this particular form, so that's been an interesting week of hunting through all the ledgers. So it looks that we came through the 22-23 budget year quite successfully. In a nutshell, the overall revenue received was higher than anticipated, and our expenses are basically across the board a little under. Some individual line items are over or under, so we can have a look at this. So the taxation number that you see right on page 33, the first page of this report. So that is the figure from MODC, from the tax collection, but it has, that number still includes the tax exemptions because they appear in the expense section. So it's just to make sure that the math is captured there. So we have our rental income from EMC, Eastlink, the HST offset grant. We did actually just receive the application for that. Transfer from other governments for lifeguards. Oh, and we have an update on that as well. That just came in yesterday, that we were successful in our grant application for the lifeguards. And
No,
so
if you just find them.
exactly. Maxine is doing a wonderful job working on that. And this also captures the transfer from the apparatus reserve for the truck.
I
and
signed
the
that,
fireboat.
which is quite exciting.
Of that. So if we go into general government expenses, so beautification looks all came in the vicinity of the budgeted amounts. Celebrations was lower than normal only because there was 5,000 that was given to the Heritage Society last year, but they also reimbursed the commission with some funds that had been unspent the previous year, so that's reflected in that number there. For operations, it's almost exactly as budgeted. Waste removal was quite a bit higher.
That is because.
That one, that's the dumpster. That's the,
At the
no,
fire hall.
that's not the dumpster at the fire hall, I don't think.
Oh, it could be the compost bins in
I
the
think it's the
summer,
compost
and
bins.
all of that has gone up a
Yeah,
lot.
all of that is
At the
not.
fire.
No, when every odd week they collect the compost bins in the village.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
And
So
those-
that went up for some reason, did it?
Oh, fuel
Fuel
and
tanks.
everything and.
Okay. Fuel.
Like many other things.
Yeah. Fuel alone would answer that question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
pardon me,
actually,
so then I've got that.
I think the bin at the fire hall is in that line item as well. And,
Yeah, because I remember that coming up in several.
The first
Yeah.
item on the compost.
It's that one is a lot. Gib lot maintenance was a little bit under budget. Everything looks to have been pretty much as expected there. Protection, it's harder for me to speak to this one because this is the fiscal year prior to my being here, so
Of course.
we'll see how we do. So streetlights. A little, yeah, again, protection all kind of came out. It's a little bit high, but that's mostly around the repair and maintenance line item. That was one that Jeff flagged
Yeah, that was.
last
those
quarter
lights by
because
now.
there was an additional 6,000 they were expecting to come in for the repair. Sorry, the note little numbers keep print.
There are some things you cannot anticipate.
Yeah, it's
Does that have to do with the lights down by the water?
it is. It's the one that's
That's all needed to be there.
So it was, yeah, damage to electrical
Yeah,
controls for the
I think
Water
you're right.
Street decorative lights. So there was a big repair job that needed to happen.
Did they ever find out exactly how they got damaged?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Okay, and then under emergency services, which in our case is the EMC. Again, this is a little bit under budget, but everything is look pretty straightforward. Then we move into the fire services. So the fire boat has its own section, and that was under. The big ticket item on that one that was a bit of a surprise was the marina fees, because they were considerably higher.
Wow.
And when looking at the invoices, the marina fees were roughly about the amount of the budgeted item, but the winter storage was what made up the difference. So I'm not sure what happened in previous years, or if that's a new item we should consider in the future, but that's just something to keep it
Because
on.
now they don't need marina fees because I think it's one of Don said they can store it at his dock, so they won't have to be.
But in the winter, they have to, don't they?
They will have to put it somewhere, so we won't have to pay the 1,500.
Oh, I-
marina.
So that one was, as I said, considerably higher, but given that some of the other items weren't used, we're still under in that line, in that section. When we get into the rest of the fire service budget, we're a little bit under on commission and administration. We're a little bit under in firefighting force. Training is higher, and that was something that was referenced in Q3, that they had done quite a bit. Sorry, in Q3, sorry, I don't have it in front of me. The figure for the end of the third quarter was quite a bit higher, but it's because the fire department had put on some training for the whole region, and they were compensated back, so this is actually lower than it was. Fire prevention and education costs were up in part due to participating in a countywide fire alarm program for elementary students following the fire-related death of a family outside Bridgewater. I'm sure you all remember that. That was awful. And then the bursary was as anticipated. Firefighting equipment, again, came in very close to budget, up over and under depending on the line item, but as a section it still came out. Personal protective equipment was quite a bit under. I think a lot of the case with some of this equipment is that they put money against things because you don't always know what you're going to need. So some years they don't, some
It's
years
also
they do.
It's also, I think, because they were behind
Mhm.
2 years, so they had budgeted 5,000 and didn't end up spending it.
Yeah,
Now, when we don't spend an item in these, do we move that into the reserve for the fire department?
we'll go through this a little bit in the audit, but normally if there's a surplus, then that does go into reserve, yes. Communication, so they changed their communications provider from Valley. Help me, Maxine, what were they called?
No, they're still with Valley Communications.
Did they go to LMR?
No, that was just for the pages.
Okay. So yeah, they have some new contracts, so there's, the figure for pagers is a bit high because they got some new materials, but again, as an overall section, we're still well within parameters. Page 39, fire service, maintenance, this was a section that we were talking about possibly consolidating some of these in future, because again, it's some items need to be done every year and some don't. So again, a little under, building in general, again, a little under. Okay, and then page 40, we look at our capital budget, and again, that's a little bit under budgeted. Mostly because looks like the actual cost on the tanker was a little bit lower than for the budget item. And then transfer to reserves, this shows what went into the reserves over the last fiscal year. And if we jump to page 42, there's a summary there of what our investments are sitting at currently. So it just shows what our current value is. Everything is going quite well. In fact, we're going to be, Geraldine and I just signed a document today because with the 40,000 we received for the truck, we're rolling that into the fire apparatus. So to do that, they have to cash it out, add the 40,000 and do a new one, but it's a higher interest rate. So we're
Yeah.
yeah,
It
it'll be a
was
benefit.
Good transfer.
Yes, it was a good transfer. And on the bottom of this page, it's just notes again, the payments to the fire apparatus to make up for the loan, the 3-year loan that was taken out. So there's been 2 annual payments so far, and there's 1 more to go in the 23-24 calendar year or fiscal year. Of the same amount that you see there. Any immediate questions, and I'll see what I can find out for
Well,
you.
I have a question, but I know you don't know the answer.
We will do our best to find out. No, please. We'll,
Well, I actually signed the check for that $710,000, so I'd like to know how come it became $670,000 unless that is the difference between the actual truck purchase and the equipment and all the blah, blah, blah that goes with it.
probably. I have to look at. Let me just see if I can find that.
I mean, somewhere there was a $710,000 check written in. I don't like the fact that it's being recorded as 670,000. That's $40,000 is money missing there.
And where are we taking the trip?
Thanks.
Just went on one.
Thank you, Carol.
That's what's showing in the ledger as the actual cost. Of the
Yeah,
truck.
it's a very puzzling entry there. That's the budget, and then in fourth quarter, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, this is what's here, but we can,
Anyway,
Pardon? That's something to do.
that could be if
Is it
the,
HST?
if the full HST was
I'm not
included
sure.
in the 700 figure.
yeah, I just
wouldn't- it wouldn't be-
throw that out for.
Part of it would be, the other part would be in the HST. And
Yeah, I can look into that and let you know.
That makes perfect sense, actually, I think.
your brain does work, but it may be wrong.
And just so you know, actually, this is a conversation, not if you weren't at the audit committee meeting, you would have missed this. We were just talking about being able to get these budget reconciled a little more easily. It's currently the budget is not in our accounting system. So this is an Excel document that we have to then import figures.
That's crazy.
So it's a little time consuming doing this one. It was very interesting though, doing the deep dive into last year's budget. I learned a lot. Be very helpful for this year. But the process has started for entering the current budget into the system. I've already had one session with our contact with, Kevin. With Kevin about that, and he was gonna actually contact Sage to ask them a couple of my questions that he couldn't answer, and then we're gonna pick it up again, so. Looking forward to getting that in.
You
sooner than
definitely
later.
need a better system
Oh.
than that.
Yeah, because for the same reason you do, I want to be able to just pull a report and see where we're sitting on things.
Could the accountant not give advice on that, on an appropriate system?
Well, it's still within Sage, so,
Okay.
yeah, it does it, we just have not used that unit in the past. We have the unit and we can, so we'll get there.
Okay, are there any further questions for our clerk treasurer on the budget report? No,
I would say great, I think they're great.
yeah,
job.
great job,
Thank you.
definitely.
Easily
Yeah.
understood.
For your first end of quarter, man.
Get those notes in there, those.
Yeah, there's notes attached,
Yeah,
but the little number
good.
disappeared off
Yeah.
the printout, I apologize.
I
didn't
I
notice
enjoyed
that.
the footnotes.
Yeah.
I will accept a motion for this meeting to move in camera at this time to discuss the municipal government tax contract negotiations.
So moved.
Thank
So
you,
seconded.
thank you. The agenda is on page one of the agenda, meeting in camera.
Just a
meeting.
moment, we have to stop the live stream.
You're not moving as quickly as.
So I stopped the video or you?
Me.